Good evening, guys, and what a week in sport it's been, Gary.
Oh, that's right, JB. The world again has been plagued by racism, with a number of pressing stories coming out this week. Before we get started, let's show you the impact the media and movies have on racism.
Racism
has no place in sport.
No place in sport.
Everyone deserves a fair go. Regardless of skin colour,
Background
or culture.
Racism!
Racism! It stops with me!
It stops with me.
It stops with me.
With me.
With me.
With me.
Racism! It stops with me.
Well, Gary, before we delve any further into the matter, let's introduce tonight's panel.
Bring them out.
The Hawthorn Football Club's favourite son, a man whose height lends to that of a garden gnome but has the heart of a lion, the one, the only, Shane Crawford. Take a seat, mate, take a seat.
JB, let's not forget the silver fox himself, the womanising king, John Sammy. Look at sharp silver fox.
Alright, let's get stuck into things, guys.
G'day boys. I think there is no place for discrimination by any means in sport, especially racism, which I believe is complete and utter tripe.
Couldn't agree more, Sammy. Although given your age, I'm surprised to hear such common sense dribble from your mouth.
Piss off, Shane, you're on the land.
Jeepers!
Let's not discriminate, boss.
Alright, lads, let's not get carried away here. We've got more important things to talk about and more important matters to discuss than to sit here and listen to you two.
That's right, JB. Righto, let's kick things off with our first story of the night. So after the recent incident between a young Collingwood supporter and Sydney Swans legend Adam Goodes, alleged being called a mate, we feel that this is a great disparity between what is happening and what should be. Foss, what are your thoughts on the issue? And you've seen develop over the years.
Cheers, Gary. My thoughts on racism in the AFL, in particular, centre around one incident. For those who haven't heard or don't remember, Nicky Winmar famously lifted his playing jumper in the middle of the match to show the colour of his skin. It was round 4 of the 1993 season. St Kilda travelled to Victoria Park to face the Magpies, little knowing that day would become the biggest breakthrough of racism in the AFL's history. Collingwood supporters, who were infamous for their racist taunts at the time, started to sledge Nicky Winmar and good friend Gilbert McAdam, who went on to kick 5 goals in a best of field display. They took the field pre-game and Nicky told him, "After today, I'm going to make them shut up. We have to send a message," as Gilbert recalled. As he pulled up his shirt and pointed to his skin after the game to show that he was proud of his colour, it became a catalyst for change in their efforts to improve the racist culture amongst AFL. In the journal Australian Aboriginal Studies, it discusses how powerful the image was at the time and how it will be used for many years to come in the fight against racism, because a picture can tell 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sammy. And as Gary said before, crowd racism was again an issue recently with the Adam Goodes saga. So have you been living under a rock? An uneducated 13-year-old girl called Adam Goodes an ape during the final quarter against Collingwood. Now I've done some research here, and to quote Dr. Barry Judd, who is the head of the Australian Indigenous Studies at Monash University, the AFL has gained a national profile of leadership with Indigenous Australians through initiatives such as Dreamtime at the G and the Martin Group Cup. Now he believes an introduction of an Indigenous community-based franchise based in Darwin would provide an ideal opportunity to extend the reconciliation beyond the playing field. It's easy to see that this just hasn't affected Indigenous footballers, right, Gary?
Yeah, Crawford, that's on that point, mate. After the incident, Sydney Morning Herald ran a story about Australian Boomers superstar and San Antonio Spurs backup point guard Paddy Mills. Paddy Mills said the action of his good friend and fellow Aboriginal ambassador, Adam Goodes, allowed him to have the strength to come out and talk about the racial abuse that he copped at the 2012 Olympic London Games. Paddy has recently said that he's used this abuse to fuel his fire to succeed in basketball. Quote from Paddy is, "Racism is something that's out there and has to be dealt with. It should never result in violence or any type of fighting. Goodsy has shown he's a top bloke and a top Indigenous role model."
So it looks like we're struggling to come to grips with racism here in Australia, especially the AFL. However, many people from different backgrounds have been subject to violence and abuse for the colour of their skin or their ethnic background. Australia as a whole continues to grow and diversify, and it's with that we need to adopt a level of acceptance and an understanding to the background of these diverse cultures and their individual differences. A film that I think really explores and highlights racism and certainly explores the development of understanding and racism and the development of equality is Remember the Titans. So let me sum things up for those of you who haven't seen it. Suburban Virginian schools have been segregated for generations inside of the Washington Monument over the river in the nation's capital. One black and one white school are closed, and the students are then forced to merge with each other at T.C. Williams High School under federal mandate. The year is seen through the eyes of the football team, where the man hired to coach the black school is made head coach over the highly successful and highly regarded white coach. Based on the actual events of 1971, the team becomes the unifying symbol for the community as the boys and the adults learn to depend on and trust each other. So help me out here, Gary.
Yeah, JB, I'll take it. The tensions arise when players of different races are forced together to play on the same football team. Many of these tensions are eased during the 2-week training camp in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Anything to add on this movie, Sammy?
Yeah, I do. When players returned to Alexandria, the players found the city in turmoil due to the forced segregation of the high school. As the season progresses, the team's success caused the community to accept the changes after the Titans' perfect season. The team and the city were closer than ever. What are your thoughts on the movie, Shane?
Well, Foss, in my eyes, Remember the Titans is a genuine classic. The film highlights racism and shows the students' ability to adopt different people regardless of their background and skin colour.
Mind you, Shane, it has some of the best actors of all time in it, with Denzel Washington playing the role of Herman Boone, who is the head coach throughout the film, and it also has other notable actors such as Wood Harris and Will Patton.
That's right, that is correct.
So anyway, folks, I'd like to draw your attention to two specific scenes, the first of which shows the initial separation and the lack of understanding of different cultures during that time, which I still feel there is a lack of understanding of different cultures in our time, which is evident. And then the second of which highlights how these boys have come together and these men have come together to really accept each other for who they are and not what they are or what the colour of their skin is or their background. So the first scene, which we'll swing to now.
Coach Tabor, what do you think of the Titans coach? Do you have a chance against a D?
Billy, Reed, come over here. These are my All-American tacos. They do nothing but knock the chocolate right out of folks.
Is it true you're not going to trade film with Coach Boone?
I'm not going to do anything to help that monkey. That's it. Alright folks, so what this scene really highlights is, I think, shows that we haven't come a very long way. I mean, given that Goodsey was called Nate a fortnight ago now, and then compare that to something that happened 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, where someone's been called an ape because of their skin colour, really shows that, you know, as a community or as even a human race, that we're not very accepting of other people's differences.
Yeah, it just seems we lack the education on the topic, and 40 years ago it seems relevant. We still aren't quite up to it today. I guess in the American side of things, it's still a lot more big of an impact over there, but we're still coming to grips with our indigenous people, and it's footy. You think footy would help it with there being such an influx of great indigenous footballers over the years, but it's sad to see that we're back to this again, and it's a major talking point.
What are your thoughts, Shane?
Yeah, no, I'm sitting with Gary here. I think it's probably more relevant over in America with the number of African Americans playing sport over there. But over here, you'd certainly think that it'd be a lot different with the number of Indigenous players coming over and succeeding in the AFL.
Boss, got anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Well, what I think is that the parents there at the time, they're providing racist cultures for their kids growing up, and that's just reflecting throughout generations. So I think there is to be an education amongst families so they can be more accepting of the other cultures because they're becoming so prevalent in Australian society today.
It's just not Aboriginal, so let's not forget about that. Australia's a very multicultural country as we speak these days, with a lot more cultures heading over to our shores. So let's not just drown on the Aboriginal side of things. But of course, we have a story here. But just seems to be schools these days are taking more students of ethnic backgrounds, and it seems that we should start there because that's where it all begins, really, at that age.
Yeah, exactly. I really think that Foss hit the nail on the head there, where we mentioned education. I think education is front and foremost to eradicating the problem. I mean, if we teach these kids from 3 or 4 years old that everyone's equal, then they're going to get to the age of 20 and they're going to have that belief that, you know, no one is different purely because they've got a different coloured skin or they've got a different type of religion or they come from a different background. So I think that, you know, if we can teach our kids to think open-mindedly and be open-minded, then they can teach their kids to be open-minded and eventually there won't be an issue with racism.
I think we're all in agreement on the we need to start in the education. That's where we need to start.
So,
start moulding young minds.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to swing to a scene in the movie where they actually handle racism terrifically, I think, and it sort of highlights our need to come together as a community, and it really discusses that.
No. Come on, baby. Can't take no rest. Take no rest.
Anybody know what this place is? This is Gettysburg. This is where they fought the Battle of Gettysburg. 50,000 men died right here on this field, fighting the same fight that we're still fighting amongst ourselves today. This green field right here, painted red, bubbling with the blood of young boys, smoke and hot lead pouring right through their bodies. Listen to their souls, man. I killed my brother with malice in my heart. Hatred destroyed my family. You listen. You take a lesson from the dead. If we don't come together right now on this hollow ground, we too will be destroyed. Just like they were. I don't care if you like each other or not, but you will respect each other. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll learn to play this game like men.
So really, I think what that scene highlights is exactly what we just spoke about, guys. I think it's the education. I think it's really a matter of accepting one another and not judging people purely because of their background.
Yeah, that's all we've got time for, folks. Enjoy the weekend and all the best to your sporting teams. And remember, we're all descendants of migrants, and no one person is better than anyone else. You stay classy, Australia.